Has anyone ever told you that if your dog goes through an open door ahead of you, it's a sign that he's asserting his dominance? Or if a dog walks in front of you or pulls on a leash, he's doing so because he wants to be pack leader? What about if he lies on a sofa, sleeps in your bed, or growls at you as you take his bone away? Are these really all signs of an intense struggle between man and dog over status in the household? Is everything a dog thinks, feels, and does the result of an unmitigated desire to dominate us and everything else in his quest to become top dog? Concepts like these have been pounded into our public consciousness for decades, leading people to believe that any type of misbehavior by their dogs is a byproduct of an innate, instinctive desire to be dominant over everything and everyone, especially humans. This assumption forms the foundation of traditional dog training ideology, despite advances in modern behavioral science that I'll discuss later in the chapter. Indeed, much of the information still available to the general public promotes and endorses solutions to a dominance problem that doesn't really exist, at least not in the way some think it does. Of course, that's not to say that there are no canine behavior problems to solve. My ever-growing workload as a dog trainer and behavior consultant attests to there being more problems than ever. What's more, they exist in large part precisely because this fundamental misunderstanding of dominance has been applied so broadly in our relationships with our dogs. Most of the dog-owning public has long been misled into thinking that treating dominance is the key to solving most dog behavior problems, when the reality is quite different. Terms such as alpha dog, top dog, and pack leader have become part of our society's readily accepted and commonly understood lexicon. When these terms are used to describe human concepts of leadership and rank hierarchy, they can indeed be useful. But when we ascribe these concepts to our domesticated dogs, we're assuming, incorrectly, that dogs place the same value that we do on the practice of identifying who is of higher rank. Unfortunately, misunderstanding the source of a dog's behavior often results in unbalanced, unconfident, and ultimately unhappy dogs and owners. Think of dog training in medical terms. If you don't know what the root cause of a given problem is, you can't effectively treat it. Diagnosis and treatment can become skewed when too much emphasis is placed on symptoms rather than an investigation into root causes. And if you misdiagnose the disease, you usually end up applying the wrong treatment. In a best-case scenario, you've delayed the patient's recovery and will quickly realize the treatment isn't working, admit your mistake, and apply the correct remedy. In the worst case, an inappropriate treatment plan based on the misdiagnosis actually exacerbates the patient's condition, making it more difficult to solve if and when you realize your mistake. Unfortunately for dogs, a dominance-related misdiagnosis of their behavior problems usually leads to the worst-case scenario. Traditionally prescribed behavior modification techniques, which usually include punishment, intimidation, and fear. Precisely the opposite of what dogs really need to overcome most behavioral issues. If the result of this unfortunate process was merely unhappy, unfulfilled dogs, it would be incredibly sad, but not an epic tragedy. But the problem is larger than that. The massive growth in dog ownership numbers, combined with this epidemic of punishment-based dog training, has created a population of dogs and dog owners who have never been more challenged to communicate effectively and safely. An increase in owner-surrendered pets at rescue shelters due to behavior problems has led to steadily increasing euthanasia rates. The number of dog bites and attacks, especially on children, are increasing despite local governments' attempts to approach the problem from the wrong end of the leash by using breed-specific legislation. To find a more appropriate and hopeful solution, we need to appreciate how people came to so misunderstand and misdiagnose how our dogs think, feel, and learn. Then we'll explore what modern behavioral science tells us is truly at play. We need to know how we got here and what needs to be changed so that we can more effectively, safely, and humanely build relationships with our dogs.